to your static variable, that value will be shared among all the objects of your class. It will be shared among what? Among all the objects of your class. Okay. And if you wanted to access the static variables always need to be accessed by the class name, because you need to see uh, that static variable is a member of which class, that you need to identify, and that's why you'll be using a class name followed by a scope resolution operator. Yes or no? So last time we have seen one program using static variable. Yes, students? Last time we have seen one program using static variables. Yes or no? Now, what is done in that particular program? All of you have that program with you now. No? Why? Okay, okay. So just listen. Um, a data member of a class can be, we can call it as a static. The property of static member variable will be similar like your C program. But what exactly the characteristics your static variables are having? It is initialized to 0 when your first object of its class is created, and there is no other initialization is permitted. Second property you have to remember is only one copy of that member is created for the entire class, and it is shared among all the objects of that class. Okay, and it is visible only within the class, but the lifetime of your static variable will be the entire program. So we have seen one program, we have written class item. I will write that program again then, and then I'll share the screen with you. What I'll do, first I'll write the program and then I'll share the screen. Class, I'm creating one class called as now in this class we'll be declaring one static variable. So I will write static int count. And we will have one integer number also, int number. Then we will have one method public in the public section. Yes, I have not shared the screen. I will share once I have finished typing the code.
Okay, ma'am.
When I'll share the screen, please copy the program because this program is required for your practical also.
Okay.
I'm sharing the screen now. Check if it's visible. Okay. So now all of you can see it over here. See what happens now. Um what we are doing, we have a class item. This program I have given you last time only. So just see to it. What we are doing, we have class item. We have one static variable int count. So int count, since the static keyword is written in front of it, so this becomes your static variable. So this is your static variable not declared. Sorry, which is declared but not initialized. Then you have one integer variable number. Now in public you have a method called as getData, which is taking one integer parameter. So a is your integer parameter. So what you are doing, you are assigning whatever the value that you will pass to your getData function, that value you are assigning it to this variable number. And getCount mein you are printing the value of the count. Okay. Now what happens? See what happens in, over here. What I said, the lifetime of your static variable will be throughout your program. Though it is accessible only in the class, it will be lifetime will be throughout the program. But to access it outside again, you have to access the static variable with the class name and the scope resolution operator. So this is how you can access the count variable outside your class. Now in main, what I'm doing, I'm creating three objects. A, B, C are the three objects of your class. Three objects of the class item. क्या है three objects? A, B and C are the three objects. Are the three of the class item. So with a dot get count, what happens now? Here, when you are calling a, when you are writing a dot get count, what will happen? The get count will get called, and your count value will get printed. Now count क्या है? Static है. So what property we have discussed? Static variable will not be initialized in your code. It will get automatically initialized when you will create first object of your class. So when you have created this first object A, what will happen? What will the value of count? What will the value of count?
0.
0, because we have discussed that initially it will get the value of the count as 0. So the moment you will write moment you will create your first object, the count will get initialized with value 0. So this value will be same for when you will create object B, when you will create object C also. Okay, so when you are writing a dot get count, your count will get called. This get count method will get called, and count will get, the count value will get displayed. So what value of count you will get? What value of count will get displayed with a dot get count?
1.
1. Why 1? See, here it is initialized to 0. After that I am not doing anything. I am just simply calling a dot get count. तो ये a dot get count पूरा call होगा. तो इसमें count का value क्या print होगा? First time when this statement gets
0.
executed.
0.
Okay. So when you are calling a dot get count, your count value will be 0. Okay. So we'll print count equals to 0. Now similarly, when you are calling b dot get count, now what will happen? Again your get count method will get called. Now what value of count will get printed? Student? What value of count
0.
will get printed? Again it will print the value as 0 because we are not doing any changes in that count value. And we said that the count value will be shared among all the objects. So though you are calling the same method with another object, it will print the count value as 0. And same thing will happen when you are calling that get count with your C also. So here it will be print count is again equal to 0. It will print count is equal to 0. Okay. That's it. Now after this, what happens? Now we have not yet called this get data method in our program. So we need to call that get data method also. So get data method also you can call it with each object of your class. See, you can create as many number of objects in your program, in your class, objects of your class, okay, in main. But whatever the object you have or how many number of objects you have created, you make sure that count will share its value with all the 3 objects, okay. So all the 3 have the count value as 0. Now we are calling a dot get count. Now, a dot get data. Now when this statement gets executed, what will happen? Yes, students, what will happen? When this statement gets executed, what will happen?
The count will be 1.
Count will get incremented.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, and your screen share is stopped.
Today I am taking lecture from college. So, is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am.
See, now listen. Now what happens when you are calling a dot get data? For get data, you want one integer value to be passed. So have you passed an integer value over here? Yes. We have passed one integer number to it. So what is that number? 100. So what will happen with a dot get data of 100? This function will get called and a will get that value 100. Okay. Now that value 100 will be assigned to number. Okay. And what we are doing? We are incrementing the value of C. Not C, we are incrementing the value of count. So what is our count? What was the value of the count? 0. So now it will become 1. Yes or no, student? Now it will become
Yes,
1.
ma'am.
Okay. Now what happens? Because when you are calling a dot get data of 100, see, we are not printing that number, value of number. If we wanted to print that, here we need to write cout number is equal to, and then we will be printing the value of number. But what happens actually in the code, we are not bothered about number ka value. What we are bothered about? We are bothered about count ka value. Okay. So when you are calling a dot get data, this 100 will be given to a, number will get that value of a, and we are printing that value and we are incrementing count. So count will become from 0, it will become 1. Now when you are calling b dot get count, what happens? Sorry, not b dot get count. When you are calling b dot get data with 200, Again, your get data method is getting called. Now A will have the value of 200. And because of that, number will also get the value is equal to 200. And now the count is equal to 1, which was for this object A, that will be shared with object B also, and the value will get incremented to 2. So with this B dot get data, the count value will become 2. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
And then third time when you are calling, that is C dot get data, what happens now when you are calling C dot get data with value 300, this 300 value will be given to A, and that will be assigned to number. So it will print, number will print the value as 300, and now count will become 3. Yes or no? Because it was 2 when you are calling it with B. Now when we are calling it with C, the count will become 3. So after reading all this data, when you are calling A dot get count, what happens now? Your count will see the last final value what you have of the count. So what was the final value of the count after calling all the
3.
functions?
3.
Yes, it was 3. So now since the value is 3, so after this, when you are calling this A dot get count, B dot get count, and C dot get count, each one of this will print the value of count as 3. So when I'll execute it, can you see the output? Initially, it was showing count is equal to 0, count is equal to 0, count is equal to 0. The number is equal to 100. Since I have printed now this number ka value, it is showing me that number is equal to 100, number is equal to 200, number is equal to 300. And after reading that value, you got the count ka value as 333. Understood? Now, why we are getting the value as 3, why we are not getting 1, 2, and 3 is because we have not called this A dot get count immediately after A dot get data. If you have called it directly over here, like suppose now if I have commented this one, and here if I'll write A dot get count, then what happens? Whatever the recent value of count you have, that will get printed. But after reading all the value, it will check what is the last value of count that got updated, and that value only will be shared among all the objects of the class. Okay, so if I'll run this now, you check. See, count is equal to 0, count is equal to 0, count is equal to 0, number is equal to 0, and that time your count was 1. Same thing will happen when you will write this A dot B dot get count. Suppose if I'll write this B dot get count after this, and if I'll write C dot get count after this. Again, I'll comment this one in this statement. And now if I'll run, I'll get all the 3 different values, 1, 2, 3. Can you see? When number was 100, your count is 1. When number was 200, your count is 2. When number is 300, your count is 3. And after reading data, now we are not printing anything. So that's why it is showing blank. And even if suppose if I'll have, even after I have there also, and suppose I have here also. Now we'll see what happens. So can you see after reading data, it becomes 3 because 3 is the latest value that you have. After that, you are not changing it. So that value will be shared among all the objects of the class. Clear everyone with this?
Yes, ma'am.
So all of you please copy the code now. Yes, everyone. Kef, clear with the code? Yes, Kef, are you there?
Ma'am, he had some internet issue. He messaged in the group.
Okay. Anyone else? Others, have you understood?
Yes.
Okay. So just copy this code first.
Ma'am, can you scroll down to take a screenshot? Thank you, ma'am.
Hmm. Clear everyone with this? Have you copied the program, everyone? Yes, students.
Yes, ma'am, it's clear.
Now next is after the static variables, the next concept we have about the static functions. Like how you use the static variables, you can use the static function also. Okay. Now what's the difference you have? Static variables are actually non-inline member functions as they are declared in a class
Ma'am,
declaration. Ah,
you unshare your screen.
and defined in the source file. It's not shared. It's okay. I'm just explaining the concept now. Program we will see it next time because now the time is over. That's why.
Okay.
Now, what is a static function? Static member variables. We can also like the static member variables. We can also have static member functions also. A member function which is declared static will have certain properties. Now, what properties a static function will have? So, static function can have access only to other static members. Matlab whatever the variables you have declared as static, only to that variables your static function can have an access. Okay, it cannot have an access to other variables. And that also that variable should be declared in the same class. Then a static member function can be called using the class name. What you need to do? A static member function, you can call it using the class name instead of object name. Like normally how we call the functions, we write the object dot function name. But when you have the static function, you will be writing class name, scope resolution, and then function name. This is the syntax of your static functions. So in the same code which we have executed now, in that also we can make use of another static function. The only thing is what you need to do when you're writing that function, what is the function you have? When you're writing that function, in front of that function, you have to write the keyword static. So you'll be writing static void show count if you have show count as the static function. Okay, that program we will see in the next lecture now because time is over and I don't know what is the next lecture that you have. So in the next lecture, we will discuss about the static functions. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so we'll leave here for today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye, ma'am.
Bye.